Should be going live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I believe we are live now. We're testing out a new format today. We're doing vertical streaming because we know a lot of people are probably watching on mobile devices. So let us know what you think if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube. I hope it is okay and everything goes smoothly today. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a minute since we last live streamed. I think George is coming back home this week. So we're on a more normal schedule. So we're live now Monday, 3 p.m., and then we'll be back live Thursday at 3 p.m. So everybody mark your calendars. And we have a lot of great topics to get into today. So without further ado, I'll run you through the topics. And then when George gets in here, we'll go through them. Everybody be sure to hit that like button, whether you're watching on Twitter or YouTube. Let's see that those like numbers soar today. So we're going to talk about the SPY and QQQ net option sentiment. Of course, a lot of tariff news in the headlines. The big, beautiful bill passed. So everything that we missed that happened at the end of last week, over the weekend, and now today, recapping it all. Then we're going to go into how are all of these headlines going to affect crypto. They seem like another tailwind for the sector. So how is George feeling about Bitcoin, any other cryptos? If you guys have any, we only really talk about Bitcoin as crypto here. So if anybody wants to hear another one brought up, let me know. Ooh, my comments were hidden. There we go. I can show them now. Echo? Oh no, there's an echo. Let me see if I could fix something. Oh wait, Mario, were you able to fix it? Is anybody else hearing an echo right now? Let me know. Let me check on my mic regardless. It should be hooked up to the mic that's on my shirt today. So hopefully it's okay. I don't see any more comments though, so hopefully there's no echo. I'll just keep on rolling along. I wanted to bring up maybe a scary number that I saw where we actually had the most job cuts in the USA since the first half of 2020. I'll reveal the number when we bring up the topic later on, but how does George feel about that? It's probably the AI impact we're starting to see in the economy and job market. No echo, yes, fixed. All right, thank you, Maverick and Mario, for responding. Glad it's sounding okay. Then we're going to talk about Tesla. Obviously, there's just always headlines for Tesla. Carmen said, no echo, perfect sound, but only you, nothing else. Yeah, so Carmen, George is going to join the stream in a couple minutes. I'm just here right now, and then I'll take you through the topics, and we'll actually discuss the topics in detail once he gets in here. But yeah, you're stuck with me for a couple minutes here in the beginning. So we'll talk about Tesla and why it's dropping. Obviously, Elon is making more headlines with starting a third political party. So what's going on with Tesla now that their full self-driving is officially launched, but all of these crazy headlines weighing on the stock. Then a stock we've been talking about a lot recently because they've made a crazy move after their IPO, CoreWeave. They announced a deal to acquire Core Scientific in an all-stock deal. Hi, buddy. Can you start? Okay. All right. So if anybody's watching today, we're going to get some troll comments because we're vertical streaming. We're shown to new people a lot more. So we have lovely one from Jacob Oy. So don't worry about it if you're a usual viewer and there's some crazy comments today. It's to be expected. So where did I leave off? So CoreWeave and Core Scientific were both down after this was announced. So both of those stocks kind of taking a hit. Is it bullish for CoreWeave in the long run, or a smart idea for them to use their stock, maybe when it's at a premium valuation, to acquire companies? Then we're going to get into SoFi, which was making a big move today, showing some strength. Is SoFi the next Robinhood, which we've seen Robinhood's shares, and it was featured in the newsletter, how large their stock has moved and how quickly. So we're going to talk about SoFi and then also bring up how Robinhood is doing their tokenized private stock launch. And I think George is going to have some thoughts that should be entertaining to share on those. I don't think he's a big fan of it. Another benefit for institutional investors versus retail. Then we have a few more topics to get to, a lot of topics today, so I hope we can get to all of them. We have Cloudflare updating their AI policies that they've had for AI scrapers for online websites. They're going to start blocking them by default. So a big shake up there. And Cloudflare stock has been looking bullish in the Prospero signals, and a stock that maybe if you haven't been following it has made a pretty insane move. Let's take a look at it right here. Up 68% year to date and 122% in the past year. There are no comments. So Carmen, some people are watching the stream on YouTube. We multi-stream on Twitter and YouTube. So we get a lot more comments and interaction on YouTube. So, but I don't think you could see them if you're watching on Twitter right now. You can only see them in a live chat if you're watching on YouTube. So that's why you don't see the comment from our buddy Jacob there. Two more stories to get to. Hey, George, welcome to the stream today. We are in our new format here.
Yeah, you're throwing me off a little bit with this vertical. I hope it looks better on the other end. It makes us look very small.
I gotta test out, which I'm thinking maybe this one will be better for us. I don't know. Well, I'll test it out in a minute when you're talking. See which one makes you. Maybe I'll have to go solo cam for you. How about that?
Now I'm kind of like I'm very narrow.
Yeah. So we're just testing out today. So if we don't like, it, we don't have to stick. But
We got good internet today, and I'm finally back home on Thursday. Thank you
are
for
you?
all of our patient live stream people that might not have been getting the streams that they wanted. I've gotten a much needed partial vacation.
Mm-hmm. Recharging up for the second half in the market. Just two more stories. Let me tell them here, and then we'll roll it back to the beginning and get into the market movements we're seeing today. Just want to highlight Royal Caribbean stock on the stream at the end because it's made a massive move and it's approaching a milestone. And then two, I don't know if you call them popular or just in the zeitgeist stocks, United Healthcare and Oscar Health. Which one would George prefer if he had to pick between the two? Very different stocks, but both in healthcare. So it'll be interesting to see which ones you decide to go with. But let's take a look at SPY and QQQ net option sentiment. You know what? They are very different right now, but I was shocked to see this morning they were almost exactly the same for a minute. They were the closest I've seen them in a long, long time. I think they were just like 4 or 5 points apart. But right now, QQQ is at 47. It just updated to 48, and SPY is back down to 14. So SPY didn't last too long in the more bullish levels. There have been a lot of headlines today around tariffs. I think some official numbers have been put out there, like 25% on Japan and some other countries. The big, beautiful bill passed last week. So what are your thoughts on the latest moves of the markets, George, and how are you feeling currently?
Well, it's interesting. I think we're in full on like taco mode in the markets, right? Because normally, Trump doing tariff stuff uh, freaks out the market, right? But nobody seems to be. I mean, it's nobody seems to be like freaked out. We're not seeing like the huge down days that we've seen in the past. I mean, 0.93 down is it's not the best day, but it's certainly not as bad as we've seen it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting that the market isn't reacting that harshly to like what I feel like all of this news today. If it was back before everybody was talking about the taco trade, um, I think today would have been much worse. So it'll be interesting to see if this actually gets taken more to the brink than some of these other ones have been. Again, in an attempt for other countries or maybe the markets to take it all more seriously.
So does that mean you think there's a decent percentage chance that there's like a either a large pullback or just a mini correction or any kind of increased volatility? Because it's been just such a melt up here for like the month of June, and even the up moves aren't like too large. It's kind of just slowly drifting higher. Could we see some volatility come back into the market soon? Maybe end of July, or even if it's a little bit longer. Like I know September is usually a time when there's a lot of volatility. So how do you see a timeline for any move like that?
I mean, it's really hard to say. SPY now sentiment's down to 14. I mean, QQ's at 48. That's pretty low for it. I mean, I don't know. We're in pretty unprecedented times, right? I think I think, we talked about it in our letter on Sunday that, the big, beautiful bill is very good for the stock market. It might not be good for, you know, all the aspects of the economy long term, but in terms of the stock market, it's a very good bill for it. And, the market, if there's one thing um, that I probably, if I went back the last few months, that I might have done differently, um, is really assessed how certain um, I think the market seemed to be that the big beautiful bill would pass. Um, I was a little bit more, um, maybe there's going to have to be changes. Maybe it'll languish for a while longer. Um, it was very close in the end. I mean, JD Vance did have to pass the tying vote, um, but the market seemed to react very much um, like it was going to happen in the lead up. And then, after it now has happened, um, I do think that um, we're looking at a situation where the bill has a lot of support, especially with the corporate tax cuts, um, to really stimulate the market. So, eventually it's got to go down. Like, eventually there's got to be, some correction. But I think the overall direction um, is up, and I think everybody's feeling like it's up. So we might get a little taco correction here, and I'm going to be careful around that. We added a little bit to our short core wave position today, but uh, I think that at this point, um, it's it's going to be hard to fend off the bulls, and I think the bears probably feel that way.
Mhm. Well, we have a CoreWeave story, but I want to get into Tesla before that, even because you mentioned how you were a little surprised how like the bill passed, and I think Elon Musk was maybe in the same camp as you heading into this the deadline for the bill. He's been making headlines on his tweets and all that stuff, and Tesla was down today because of the tensions, and it seems like they're reigniting between him and the president. And I think he even said he's starting a third political party now. So how much of this is noise? How much of it is a real drag on Tesla, the stock, the company for long term? If you're a long term bull, is it a buy the dip with these headlines? How do you feel about the company now?
I will give this to Elon that you rarely see anyone around politics follow through on something if it means negative consequences for them, right? And I think that's what's kind of interesting about this situation. Negative consequences for for their brand or their stock or whatever. When Musk was talking about Doge, he was talking about needing to cut spending, and sure enough, when this bill got closer to being passed, when there wasn't a follow through on those promises of spending cuts, he kept to his position, and he kept to it, at a personal expense, right? I don't think what's going on with Tesla stock today has much to do with, you know, Tesla the company. I think it has to do with, you know, fear of what an escalation from, Trump could look like for Tesla. I think when you're dealing with Trump, you don't really know what's in his playbook. So you can't really say like, oh well, truthfully, Elon Musk fired a lot of the regulators or scaled back a lot of the regulators for self-driving cars that could, do something with him. There's really, you know, you don't ever know what's in Trump's playbook. People are reacting to. They're reacting to the risk that Trump could do something to hurt Tesla's business. Um, I think that's what we're seeing. And I mean, let's be honest, Tesla's business is already hurting a bit, and maybe this is more of an appropriate reaction to that. Um, but I think it's interesting, and I think if Elon Musk continues with this, which it looks like he's going to, um, I think we're definitely talking about um, some real risk that Trump finds a way to punish any and all of his businesses for it.
So we'll have to keep our eyes on Tesla, and earnings season is coming up, and I have a hard time seeing how Tesla has good earnings this quarter. So Elon would have to do his magical speeching and projecting to the future, right? He would have to get everybody excited on the Optimus full self driving on the call, probably. Could you see Tesla exceeding earnings expectations this quarter at all?
I can see him getting excited about the future. Um, but like in terms of things that are coming. But I don't have high hopes for their actual like earnings.
So I want to bring up CoreWeave now. It moves so much. Let's take a look back at it, see where it is right now, because it was red this morning after it announced an acquisition. Still in the red, down about 3.5%. So they're going to be acquiring Core Scientific, ticker CORZ, Cores, and an all stock deal worth for $9 billion, or about 20 per share of Cores, and pricing it in Cores. And Cores actually went down a lot based on this news. And what I was reading on social media is people were like shorting cores because it was a cheaper way to short core weave at that point when it was announced that it was getting acquired. But is this smart for CoreWeave to look to, maybe they know their shares are a bit overvalued, to look to acquire in all stock deals right now when there's a good chance the shares pull back and kind of cash in on the shares being up right now?
Um, it's hard to tell how much this is. I mean, this seems more like a sell on the news thing than than a value thing, right? And maybe some opportunistic shorting, or maybe some people that were holding until holding until the transaction, not a sell. It wasn't necessarily a sell on the news thing, but they were holding until the transaction, and maybe got a little scared off um, by the price action. Um, yeah, I really don't. I'm really like I'm looking at this, um, and I can't quite say um, why exactly, because CoreWeave has got this really interesting narrative to it that obviously we've been following, where I don't really think it's moving much on value. So if you're talking about momentum, what can really change momentum? A news story, a perception of sell on the news. Um, Tomorrow is going to be interesting. I would say. I think that's where we're really going to um, get a lot of insight into if people think this was, just a sell on the news blip, and there might be some value created from that blip, um, or people start to get cold feet about the momentum using, and maybe there's the value concern will overtake um, the momentum. And I don't think that this tariff stuff is timed very well for it, because I think for a momentum stock, um, more people are more likely to get spooked um, if uh, if there's negative momentum in the market, and it's creating a bad day even just from negative momentum.
Um, do you think CoreWeave is algo trading or retail? Because you've mentioned recently how like the market is so retail driven, but I don't see like when I like read on Twitter and stuff, it seems like a lot of the retail stocks get talked about on Twitter, and I don't see anybody like hyping up CoreWeave. So I'm wondering if this is like algo more so than retail, and if it's a little bit different than a lot of what's driving the rest of the market, or are we unsure and just there's not really a way to know at
I
the
don't know. I
moment?
think I feel a lot of retail hype on CoreWeave. And honestly, I don't think like on a stock at this kind of value, I think if you're seeing it move as much as it does, there's a retail component and an algorithmic component to it. I don't really see a lot of momentum stocks these days that don't have retail attention. And I think indeed a lot of momentum, algorithmic momentum starts with retail these days, and hedge funds are clearly looking for that.
So spinning now to crypto, with the big beautiful bill passing, and I've seen some different totals of like how much debt it's going to add between like 3.2 to 5 trillion. I think I've seen. Um, but we've been talking about the tailwinds for crypto of like just the change in how this administration was like supporting the industry. But now with that level of money coming into the markets, is that another tailwind for crypto and even going to boost it and make it more positive in your opinion than before? Or the big beautiful bill you've said
Before,
kind of
yeah,
boost the markets overall, but does crypto benefit even more so, or just the same as everything else?
yeah. Before I answer it, I have to say I think the funniest concept, the funniest comment I saw um about the the currency decline in relation to this was someone saying, like, someone talking about the dollar, and they say, like, we don't care that the dollar's declining, we're moving to crypto. And I think that's just kind of like the quintessential, like, I'm into crypto comment, where it's just like, yeah, well, maybe the president and a lot of other people really love crypto, but that doesn't substitute the fact that when our country issues debt, that we have to issue it in dollars. And the value of that declining is not good, especially if we're going to be paying for the deficit um, by printing money, issuing more debt. Um, so I think that was the funny comment. But after that, like, and I think it's one of those things, and it's a lesson that we always talk about too, which is like, I think that very enthusiastic crypto person is going to be right for the wrong reasons. Um, I think that person is like, I think they're going to think um, that, oh, it's the American government switching to liking crypto that's going to drive up crypto. But really, um, it's the fact that, you know, high net worth individuals are going, that got tax breaks. There was a big change to the estate tax. And I think that's actually huge for crypto because I think a lot of people in our generation, um, if they get handed a big pile of money from their parents, right? I think that's a huge um add to crypto. And that kind of thing um is not it's those people, even with a higher estate tax, those people probably would have bought crypto anyway, but it's just a function of, okay, if more money is being passed on to future generations versus going to the government, actually it's the opposite. It's not like when they announced that first, like, that treasury buy of the that was like a non amount for the government, but all of this money not going to that wouldn't be going to the government in taxes, that's going to be explicitly passed on to future generations. um I think there's going to be a lot more money put in crypto, and crypto in like a hype cycle, right? That's something um that people know, that kind of thing. People know that high net worth individuals are, keeping their tax breaks. They're going to have more money circulating. There's going to be more money passed to future generations estate in a state as a result of changes in estate taxes. um that's going to be a huge, bull flag for the crypto markets.
Hmm.
But there's a reason both are going up. I think there's going to be a lot more money, whether it's the estate tax or whether it's tax breaks or higher corporate profits. There's going to be a lot more reasons for money um, to go into the markets.
And when we talk about crypto, we basically talk about the Bitcoin adjacent companies like Coinbase, the miners, and MSTR, and all that, and then Bitcoin. Are you paying attention to any other cryptos like crypto coins, or no? Not even at this point. No interest in those yet.
Yeah, I don't really like to speak on things that we don't have. Like, I have my own personal opinions, but I'd like to think that I'm here to speak on, like, Prospero's Prospero signals combined with my personal opinions. Um, I'm just some guy when it comes to crypto. I feel like I might be a little more than that. If you like crypto, there's no reason to less risky than um any individual cryptocurrency. You get to be long crypto without individual cryptocurrency risk. That's why we love it.
Now, one piece of data, leaving the crypto world here, that I think it kind of got like swept under the rug, it seemed like, because it seems a bit concerning. So the first half 2025 job cuts are the most since the first half of 2020, which was the pandemic, and they came in at 744,308. I'm wondering, is that the AI effect? Is there any other weakness in the economy that would cause jobs to be lost? And how come that number isn't scaring the market or investors or people more so than, am I making too much of it by the fact that there's the most job cuts since 2020, or should that be concerning?
I mean, I don't think anyone's making a big deal about it because it is AI, right? Like, I think this is pretty much what everybody in the know, and certainly anyone that watches the stream would be knowledgeable about. Um, that it, that this job loss is coming, and we need to figure out a solution where it's going to be bad. It's going to accelerate.
So, but you don't think that'll affect the markets ever? If the companies are enhancing themselves, like enhancing their profits or margins or, you know, anything with AI?
No, I mean, I think it's similar to what we're looking at in the macro economy. Like, I think we're seeing a lot of um a lot of rewarding the richest corporations, the richest individuals, and kind of not worrying about anything else other than that. Um it's pretty sad to witness, actually, because there's going to be a lot of suffering on the longer term caused by this. And I think I read that some of it was just like it's just to give like billionaires like $1 million extra a year. That like a lot of this stuff is being cut, our deficit is being increased. When you think about it on those terms, it's kind of like nauseating. And that doesn't even touch like the estate tax or anything like that. Um, you wonder how we got sold down the river so spectacularly.
So I have a question then. There's always like certain issues whenever like, an election is happening for president that are like the main issues of the time. Do you think like AI can be an issue like that in the future if it is affecting a large portion of people so negatively? Do you think we could have like an anti-AI candidate or like anybody? Do you think there will be anti-AI people like more so than there are now? Because you don't really hear much of that now, like about the progress of the technology. But do you think that's kind of a risk if like we keep going down this road? Hello?
Sorry, my internet was like I was seeing it break up, and I was like, maybe if I try without my VPN, it'll do better.
I was just wondering if we were frozen. All good.
Can you
Let me
hear me?
just We got you.
I heard you. About the AI. I mean, I think we could get an anti AI candidate. I mean, what I think is that we'll get. I I think it'll just be like I think anti AI will just be, you know, populist. When populism actually gets organized, who knows? Like, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. Like, for all the people that hate Biden or that hate Trump, um, I'm actually surprised that more of them haven't gotten together and say, like, yeah, kind of both of those like candidates just represent corporate interests that are trying to like bleed the rest of us dry. Um, but instead, I feel like everybody's too busy arguing about who's worse when they're both kind of shitty for anyone that isn't like a rich corporation or individual. But I think that's the funny thing about America. Like everybody like identifies like more with the billionaire than with the like with the impoverished person when the vast majority of us are a lot closer to the impoverished person than the billionaire. Go figure.
If only there was a third political party in America. It sounds like you're making the pitch for it. That's funny.
That sounds more like a circus, to be honest, with Elon Musk. But like I'm saying, I actually think I can give Elon Musk a hard time on this stream. Um, but I actually think the fact that he stuck to the same perspective from before the election to this bill, I've got to commend him for that because I don't feel like I see that um, very often, unless that sticking to your guns involves corruption. There's a lot of that. I don't think there's a lot of sticking to your guns when it involves actually like saying, "Hey, maybe we need to think about the future of this country a little more instead of the now."
Okay, so the next topic will give us a chance to talk about the newsletter a little bit because we'll get into the Robinhood tokenized private companies and your opinion on that. But before we get into Robinhood specifically, I wanted to bring up SoFi because they're making a Robinhood esque move, showing a lot of strength, but they haven't moved quite as much as Robinhood. They're still not even at their all time highs. So, are you bullish on SoFi? I know the signals have been bullish on Robinhood. I feel like they're a similar company. um, I know you also have the problem with Robinhood with like your moral aspect of it. SoFi, I don't know if it has the same type of like business style to you. So how do you feel about SoFi? Could they go on a run the same way Robinhood has?
Well, I think, it's kind of funny. A lot of these places, they'll just like, I think places like SoFi and Public, they make a lot of money off like opting you into shared lending programs, which is not as bad as payment for order flow. I can't really speak on how much SoFi does payment for order flow. As a brand, I like them better. But I haven't like Robinhood just really got my attention because of like, the atrocities. Like, I don't know. I'm not that in depth knowledgeable of the goings on of like every brokerage. It's kind of hard to do that. But, you know, Robinhood kind of gets you, gets my attention when 33% of your revenue is going to Citadel and you're turning off you're turning off the, the buy button and you're getting missed with misleading ads. Largest fine ever for FINRA at that time was to Robinhood for basically misleading investors. Um, so yeah, not a huge fan of them. Um, but yeah, what we basically said about in the letter is like what's true for Robinhood is true for SoFi, right? I think it's going to be the boom times for retail investors, for the stock market. Um, I think unfortunately what it's looking like is it's going to be the boom times for the stock market until the country is insolvent or maybe we've started some kind of war to avoid paying our debts. Um, like I'm not saying that's anytime soon, um, but we don't seem to have a really solid long-term plan in all this.
So it's funny. It's like it's the boom times, but it's almost like the last hurrah. It's like get on the train until it crashes because it's unsustainable. But until that point, it's like it's almost only headed in one direction. So it's like,
I mean, look at the like I always like the analogy like rats on a sinking ship, right? Like
mhm.
because our country is like literally like flooding in places and things will literally be like probably in our lifetimes we're going to see things get like swallowed up um into the ocean um because nobody seems to care about this stuff. Um so yeah, I think that it's one of those things that I think the closer to the abyss that we get, the more it seems that people are intent on looting um the country. But hey, like as we talked about in the newsletter, like it's a good thing you're here. It's a good thing that you're working on um your own personal portfolio, because a good way to make sure you get your slice of that good appreciation of the the looting of the American empire slice. Um, buying Robinhood seems like a good way to do that. SoFi, maybe not the same upside, but maybe you feel a little better about yourself um, at the end of the day. Um, but yeah, it really occurred to me, and um, I was thinking about it a lot um, over the weekend as I was writing that. And sometimes I wonder why um, a tool as useful as Prospero hasn't taken off more. And partly I know the answer is just that there's not a lot of people that want to do self-directed investments, and that's like the easy part of it. But there's a more complicated part of it where I do just think that there's certain like marketing and dopamine reactions that people have gotten used to that you know they don't even care if something is immoral, if it's giving their like if it's stimulating the right um parts of their brain. um and that one's a real puzzler because we've talked about that, and I'm just like, you know what, whatever, I don't think Robinhood's going anywhere. I think that is impossible to deny that it's not going to be a problem for them. Um but that's an interesting part about it because you hear a lot of retail investors talking about how they don't like how Citadel controls the market, while using Robinhood. And that's very, very confusing to me because by using Robinhood, you're basically reinforcing the systems that help Citadel control the market. So that part of it, I don't think I'll ever understand. But there's a lot of things in America that I don't understand. So you can just add that to the list and say that, yeah, Robinhood is probably a great buy over the next 10 years because they're getting into things like sports betting. That's a growth business, and the margins are even better on stocks because you actually don't have to like lie to people and dupe them to make money like you do with payment for order flow and that kind of thing. Like the money in especially these prop bets is crazy. And the odds are so much towards the house. It's not even funny, but there's another thing that people don't seem to care about. Um, but yeah, it's actually like I went through a whole spectrum on the tokenized asset things because I was like, oh, at first I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. People can own OpenAI um, and Starlink, or it was SpaceX or something like that. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh wait, tokenized securities don't aren't the same securities laws, right? So it starts getting similar to crypto, where it's just like you could basically have like the Martha Stewart situation or anyone like that that's basically like knows, or someone that owns a private OpenAI stock that knows a big deal is coming through that can act on before the everyday people. And that's for people's problems with the markets, at least public disclosures are a thing, and people like Martha Stewart has, high profile people have gone to jail for that. Those mechanisms to stop people from like um, front running things in these, um, they don't exist. So basically, you're just putting more opportunity for people that are like same kind of thing that are already wealthy to have an informational advantage, kind of an explicit informational advantage on everyday people. Not to mention the fact that you could, create an infinite amount of short shares, a lot of stuff. But all of that was just kind of like a lot of, I would say, my standard objections to the direction of capitalism, where it's just like, well, everyday people are kind of getting the shaft a little more as it goes. Same with 24-hour trading, anything like that. But when I actually read Sam Altman's response to the tokenized assets, um, that was even more shocking because it doesn't seem like uh, OpenAI really wants that equity to exist. They basically have these private shareholders, allowing Robinhood to do this and create this whole thing. And I mean, when Sam Altman said the stock offered by Robinhood isn't real equity. Please be careful. Like, that's pretty funny. We got Sam Altman here, perhaps speeding us towards a demise of a super intelligence, like as fast as he physically possible, is turning around and telling us to be careful about fake shares. Um, it's kind of it's a great little irony we have. One of the many we have of the modern world that Sam Altman is telling us to be careful. But yeah, uh, I would have thought that it happened. This was happening with the like consent um, of those companies. Um, but the fact that it isn't, it's just like, oh, there's one thing Robinhood's good at. It's finding new grips, and I'm sure Citadel loves um, that is happening. But I'm also torn, right? I'm also torn with the idea that like I like the idea that someone can own OpenAI that didn't have a chance to own it before. I like that. I just don't like that it's Robinhood that's controlling that thing. But of course, it's them because um, you know when I was in the mortgage industry in '08. Um, well, I mean, I saw stuff at Bear Stearns and all, and like, and I made my way around that industry. And one of the things I wondered as I met more people when I first started working at one of the places, I met some of the people originally, and I was like, oh, I think I was working with the bad guys before. Now I think I'm working with the good guys. These seem like good people, which um, I'm sure anyone that's been around the corporate world as long as I have, I probably told myself I'm with the good people many more times than I've ever actually been with the good people. um, but the longer I was on in the mortgage industry, um, the longer I kind of wondered um, if how much what happened was a function of the mortgage industry or the people at the top just not being the most moral, or how much of it was just like kind of the pull of more immorality that happened as this thing got bigger and bigger and people just like egging each other on for more and more profits. um I say that because I feel like when you look at this kind of thing getting added to Robinhood's business, and Sam Altman of all people, being kind of appalled by it, he thinks that Robinhood and the retail investor should be careful. It kind of tells you everything you need to know about the way that Robinhood does business. Um, but I've added Robinhood. I've given up. I've added Robinhood. There was many years when I was like, don't buy Robinhood, don't do anything with it. But it's just like at the end of the day, you can't deny that people are attracted to this, darkness and it's the same kind of thing. That mortgage industry boomed. Um, and sometimes if my job is to advise retail investors, like sometimes to be like, well, if they're gonna pull that shit, you might as well get yours too.
And Mario you just kind of addressed this comment there. He's talking like why if you both use the Prospero signals to benefit while the opportunity is there, which is kind of exactly the point you just made. I believe. Um, wow, that was
That's that was a good rant.
yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. um, spinning now to a new company. Enough of Robinhood. We'll put them in the past for now. I want to bring up
Dude,
Cloudflare
you get me
today.
started on Robinhood. I could talk for like hours.
I actually said before you were in the stream in the beginning when I was going over the topics, like I'm excited to hear George talk about this one because I know it's going to be good. So I'm glad you gave a nice long speech on it. But
I
bringing up
hope it wasn't
Cloudflare,
too like. I hope we can get some shorts out of there, and it wasn't too like. I know my internet connection isn't the best.
no, it was good. Yeah, it'll be shorts. Okay, we're staying in AI because Cloudflare just updated their policies. So, I mean, I had no idea before they announced this, but they're going to begin auto blocking AI scrapers by default with their they provide services for like basically, a lot of websites on the internet. They're a huge portion of it. So, it's interesting to me that that was not off by default to begin with, but I don't know if this is good or bad for Cloudflare in the long run, like becoming the policeman of the internet against the AI companies that are trying to scrape it. Like it sounds good, but do you think that might bite them in the backside in the end, like being on the other side of the AI, what the AI companies want?
So I think it's kind of funny. Um, one of the things we scrape some data, and have for a long time, and my CTO refers to Cloudflare as like the enemy. He's like, anytime he's talking about things, systems that don't use Cloudflare, he's always like, oh, we could do this or that. And he's just like, but sometimes I'm like, can we get that? And he's like, oh, I don't think so. I think they use Cloudflare. So I do know whatever the hell, Adam, our CTO, is a very very capable guy. So the way he talks about Cloudflare makes me feel like their product is good. Um, but yeah, it's like it's kind of like a virus antivirus kind of situation where it's just like there's always going to be better scrapers, and then the scrapers need to have like Cloudflare. But yeah, I will say that like it does seem like Cloudflare can get on top of it a lot of the times. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of like one of the things that you always have to say about um AI and hacking, right? Is like we're at a point where the only thing that's going to keep an AI out of your system is a better AI, and that's just as true for hacking as it is, defending your systems. I mean, because some of it's like, yeah, you don't want to scrape, but you're also checking for DDoS attacks. There's a lot of things um, that you're not just like that you're putting in place, not um, not just for your battle with scrapers. Um, but yeah, I think that AI is going to become a bigger and bigger thing. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like contractual or something, or maybe it is about like also preventing attacks. But I know a lot of people have like scraped sites for a while. I actually don't want to name this site because we still scrape it. So, so, but I think some of those sites actually like the scraping because when you're scraped, you're getting hit, and especially if you want to show users and ads, um, those scrapers help. But maybe the advertisers are getting smarter and they can suss that out. I don't know, but like as I said, I do always like net looks good in our signals sometimes, and I do like that um, that my CTO seems to take it very seriously.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I brought up the story even too, because I feel like I've seen them in Prospero a bunch with pretty bullish signals, and their stock has moved a lot this year. So we'll have to keep our
I've
eyes on
added
the
them a
inside.
few times.
Hmm. Um, a stock that's outside of the AI world that's making new all-time highs. Yes, it's possible. Everybody watching. Actually, if you tell me this stock has any AI in it, I'll be surprised. But Royal Caribbean, so the cruise line, hitting all-time highs, and this stock has been on a major tear recently. It's now up 42% year to date, 109% in the past 12 months. Um, how do you feel about Royal Caribbean at this point after it's made this major move? It's currently at around a $90 billion market cap. Can it get up to that $100 billion milestone? Um, how did a cruise company become almost $100 billion? It's a little bit surprising. I was shocked to see this recently.
I mean, they got quite a fleet. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's that surprising. But I could never be bullish. Ever since people that have watched me for a bit probably have seen me talk about this before, I could never be bullish on a cruise company just because of what I saw at COVID. Like, I just don't like I feel like they're just like one pandemic away from people being like that was like I think they just had a Netflix special about what happened there, but I feel like they're just like one pandemic away for people being like, I don't know, maybe this pandemic things are too real, or one other disaster away. That like those news stories were like horrifying, like and I just like the idea of getting like the idea of going on a cruise doesn't excite me that much. The idea of getting trapped on a cruise ship with people is just horrifying. So it's like it's actually one of those things where it's like you've heard me talk about businesses where I'm just like I don't really want to own that business, but that one is just like a like I just I couldn't own that. Like I could short one for sure, but I don't think I could go long a cruise company just because I just don't. I find cruises to be horrifying since that happened.
That's a good point you made about just the price of the vessels themselves. I would be curious to know like what the net cost or of their ships or valuation of that is. But the other thing I was thinking about, could it be making this move because
They probably have a more expensive fleet than a lot of like navies in the world.
mhm. Yeah, that's interesting. Um, if people are expecting oil to keep going down in price because Trump like kind of puts an emphasis on drill baby drill, could that be affecting a stock like this that requires a lot of that in their business? Could investors be expecting better margins, more profits if oil drops? I would imagine fuel is a large expense for them in their business.
Definitely.
Mhm.
That definitely could be.
Okay, we have had over 2,000 people join the stream today between Twitter and YouTube. Thank you all for joining. Let us know what you think of the new format. Do you like the vertical streams or not? Like the video if you've enjoyed the topic so far. We have one more to get to today. And let me just say also, we're going to be streaming Thursday at 3 p.m. for our second stream of the week. So everybody mark it on your calendars if you haven't yet. But we have one more topic to get to, and it's two stocks that, they're very different companies, but both in healthcare, United Health and Oscar. United Health is looking really good in the Prospero signals. Oscar is a stock I brought up just a few streams ago because they were getting a lot of retail excitement, and the shares are down a little bit since then, actually. So if you had to choose between one of these, would either of them be interesting to you? And even if you don't like either of them, which one do you think you would choose if like I was forcing you to pick between these two right now?
UNH definitely. I think Oscar's a little overvalued, but I just think I get so spooked by UNH. Um, like just because of everything going on with the lawsuits and the CEO, I just like it feels very unsettling. Like it feels like a good value, but it also just feels like they're one headline away from being torched. So I feel like I just have too quick of a trigger finger when I've added it, and I just maybe I shouldn't as a result of that.
So UNH over Oscar. It's funny, Jacob. We have a troll in the chat today, George. But I'm happy you watched the whole stream, Jacob, because you were here in the beginning, you're here in the end. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for sticking around.
I
So
mean, does he
George,
mean you or me?
well, when he said it the first time, it was only me. I don't know. Now maybe both of us, but but yeah.
I
Um,
mean, is that a typical like troll
I don't
taunt?
know. Mario said you have become socialists with both of you having equal screen time today. I know George is usually a superstar. I had a secret motivation for these vertical streams. Now Mario is uncovering it. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I need to throw a little tantrum next time.
I think we'll
I'm
probably go
supposed to
back to
be.
horizontal on Thursday, uh,
It's a
unless
little
anybody
unsettling.
extremely loves it.
I'm gonna make
Alrighty.
a little. I still have Brent doing the trading letter. He's doing a great job. He's actually like I think I don't know, Brent, if you're watching, you've done a great job. I think the model portfolio is, unlike my portfolio that has gone down since I've been on my vacation. I believe Brent in the model portfolio, it's about where it was. Um, but it's Lululemon. I knew I shouldn't have got into it. Oh, but I was gonna just make a little I was gonna make a little screener because SPY. What are SPY and QQ unit options set to Matt?
SPY is currently 14 and QQQ is 48. Oh, wait, it just updated. SPY is 33 and QQQ is 43.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So are you making the screener right now that goes in the Prospero app?
Yeah, I mean, I would be. It's not a particularly interesting process, but if you
Mm.
have questions, shoot them. Let me know if anybody has questions about how I do this.
Well, what is even like you can just choose any 3 of the 10 signals? Like is that
Yep.
how
And then I can use some filters, and then I can use some, and then I can use some. Maybe I should try. I'm almost done. All right, we got some new. It picks a lot of like small cap ones, but that might not be so bad for right now. Small cap's getting a little. All right, so that's done. It's going to appear very soon, and then I'll send it a little alert. And then hopefully it changes. While we're waiting, if anyone's looking at the app and wants to tell me when the screener changes, oh, it's there already. Very quick. All right, so we
bear
can send out
caution?
this, yeah, bear caution screener. Now I can send out the little alert about it. And then we're just gonna give us an old checkaroo on this move score report. I imagine I'll be dropping Lululemon. That's really decided to screw me over, but it's my own fault. I had every I had every reason to believe that this tariff thing, it's just like the market wants to take tariffs seriously, it doesn't want to take tariffs seriously. Can't decide.
One stock
Okay,
in
let's
retail
see.
that's been making the big move. Remember when we covered Estee Lauder because like Michael Burry, I think 100% of his portfolio was in it. It's now been up.
What's going on with it?
It's up 70% in 3 months. I don't know when he got in. What's his cost basis, but it's only
Good
up
for him.
13% year to date. So a little bit. If he was in it for like the whole year, a little bit less, but still up.
Yeah. I'm just gonna wait. I'm not gonna get. I'm just gonna wait to see what happens tomorrow. Maybe I'll take one more. American Express is down. It's kind of surprising. Lululemon's not, but maybe get out of Amex. Let's see. Yeah, 54 in option sentiment. Sorry, MX. Ugh, I was very close to adding Palantir this weekend, and I didn't, and I'm not sure why.
Maybe you have to add Palantir's little brother, Big Bear AI.
Tomorrow, like I'll look what's going on with that. Yeah, maybe. All right. Anything else, anybody? Everybody?
Well, nothing of substance in the chat. Jacob again, but George, no fireworks for you this year, huh? July 4th must have been.
No.
Was there any mention of it where you are, or like no?
There were military ships where I was in various locations in Greece, and and uh, I googled them, and it said that basically they don't care about the Greeks do not care about 4th of July and fireworks, but they care enough to have the military ships there. So who knows?
So,
All right, it's close to 11 here, so I'm gonna sign off.
all right.
I still have a few other things to do too.
Well, safe travels home, and we'll see you on Thursday back in the States. Thanks everybody for watching. Is there a Wednesday
All right,
meeting? So
Mario,
Mario,
there's a
it's
Thursday
Thursday.
meeting, and then next week we'll be back to normal.
So thank you everybody. See you soon. Thank you, George. Bye everyone.